Welcome. Here we are to our topic of self-awareness or mindlessness, as it may turn out. I'm here with my good friend Christian Hoffler, and we have another 7 minutes to touch on this topic really quickly. Thanks for everybody joining in here. Thank you very much. We just would ask that you mute yourself as we go. We have self-awareness, of course, is something that we often struggle with as human beings. It is something that as coaches and trainers, when we do cultural work, surprising for a lot of my clients, particularly that the first initial introductions and even the early parts of our programs are involved in them learning about themselves, or exploring about themselves. And in psychology, they say we are not our thoughts, we are just observers of our thoughts. And we judge ourselves on those. So the more that we can assess our own thoughts, our own reflections, our own values and beliefs, the better we can possibly understand how we might react, either in a negative or positive way, to the behaviors of the others that we interact with on a daily basis. And when we're interacting with people that are from a different culture, of course, that can become problematic if we find that we're disagreeing or that we're on the opposite side of the fence. What say you, Christian?
Well, I have been on the opposite side of the fence myself multiple times, and there were times in the beginning where my self-awareness was in development, and it did not serve me very well. The results I had as a, well, what would be the opposite of self-awareness? Brett and we were struggling with coming up with an antonym to this. Mindlessness might be one. It might be unreflectedness, or simply not having a frame of comparison, a frame of reference to which we can hold ourselves against. And I like to tell a story, which is basically the interculturalist joke that's been running around for years. And I'm not saying the joke is good. It's not a slap your thigh, laugh out loud funny. However, it illustrates the concept of not being self-aware or not being aware of one's own cultural predispositions. So the story goes that two young fish swim through the ocean, minding their business and chatting it up, the young lads swimming about, and they come across a big old fish that swims against their direction, and he waves his old fin at them and says, "Hey boys, how's the water?" and keeps on swimming. As the two young lad fish swim on, one looks at the other and says, "What in the world is water?" So not being aware of one's own cultural DNA, so to say, of our cultural, I like to call it our operating system upon which ourselves operate. Our bodies are the hardware. This is our physicality. This is the hardware that makes us function in the physical world. Our culture is the operating system we run on these machines. And if we're not aware of our operating system, how can we download a new app, like a new language? Or how can we download the app functioning in business culture in, I don't know, India, if we're running a US operating system? That may be challenging. There may be some compatibility glitches. And unless we're self-aware, unless we know how we operate, what our MO is, it will be very difficult to succeed abroad or in an international context. Over to you, Brett.
Absolutely, yeah. And we would argue that it also is important locally, because if we're working with people that are from different cultures, different points of view, then to be aware of course, what drives us, as Christian says, what drives our software, and the possible glitches that can come up when we're leading, when we're setting examples for people that follow us as global leaders. Then if we are blind to those and how we react, then we are going to cause problems. And of course, it's not efficient especially in a global setting, to have that perspective. The larger session that we'll be touching on we'll be digging into that very deeply with a whole set of exercises that
Right.
we use with our clients in that context.
Yeah, we'll spend 37 minutes with you on this, and just because we like the number seven, that I think you picked up on that by now.
Yes.
We also, Brett and I, recognize that yes, 7 minutes is to whet your appetite, and 37 minutes is also only to give you probably the appetizer and maybe a glimpse at the main course. Um, However, it is important that we give you the basic structure of the work that we do in a easy to comprehend format like this. And in doing so, we obviously became aware that there is more than seven success strategies. We picked out the seven ones that we think are should be top of mind or should be at the beginning of a globalist journey. Obviously, there will be more skills and capabilities that we build up as we continue our journey to becoming globally mindful people. I do want to circle back to the early days when I became a global person without knowing it, because I was an exchange student in my teenage years, and not being self-aware really hurt me. It hurt me by not being able to make connections in the high school that I attended. It hurt me because I initially alienated my host family by acting and talking in a way that was not helping build the relationship. And at that age, I was a teenager. I intuitively changed my course because, as if you remember, when you were younger, your behaviors were easier to adjust and you just went with what is. As adults, as we have our readily shaped behavioral preferences, that may not be as easy. That's why we're doing this 7 by 37-minute course, and you saw the link how you can get registered in our follow-up email. Brett, any closing comments on this self-awareness topic today?
Well, I think I just want to jump back. The first thing I said, because our good friend and teacher Samaya maybe joined after I mentioned that her question, which I addressed at the start about the humility, is something we invite here. Please send us questions, observations, any of the other things that you think outside the purview of what we're touching on here, that you think we should consider that global leaders should be aware of in their day-to-day operations. So that would be great. Thank you again, Samaya, for your wonderful comment via email. That was great. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you all. This concludes session number 3. You all have a wonderful weekend. If you live in the United States, please honor Juneteenth. If you don't know what this is, go online. There will be someone explaining it to you. And we will see each other again at 11 minutes before the hour or 11 minutes before the half hour if you're in India on Monday. Happy weekend.
Have a good one, guys.